Now, in the last lecture, we were discussing about what exactly is Selenium, and I said that Selenium is basically an API. Now, what exactly is an API? So that is what we need to understand before we start practically working on Selenium, because Selenium is not a tool. I mean, you cannot install Selenium. You'll not get any setup file like in case of QTP, RFT. You get a setup file, you double click on it, it gets installed on your machine, provide you a platform where you can do record and play, where you can do scripting. It's nothing like that with Selenium. You cannot see Selenium. There is no GUI component of Selenium, right? So if Selenium is not a tool, if it is an API, then what exactly is an API? So I'm gonna take a practical example, right? Let's say if I if I say, let's say I'm a Java developer. So as a Java developer, I got a task that I need to design a calculator. Now, in a calculator, there are various operations available. I can add something, I can subtract something, I can multiply something, I can divide something. N number of operations are there in calculator. Now, in order to implement all these things as a Java developer, what I will be doing is I'll be creating a class with the name as calculator. Now, if you have not heard about what exactly a class is, what object is, I believe, I mean, if you are taking this course, so you must be from either a testing background or a development background or a UAT background, and you must have studied C, C++, or basic core Java during your graduation, right? If you have not practically implemented programming, then you must have studied it, the basic part of programming. I'm saying this because in order to work on Selenium, it's only and only basic core Java programming is required, right? There is no need to learn advanced programming, advanced Java. It's only the basic concepts of Java that you need to understand in depth. That is basic if, else, loops, arrays, basic oops concepts, inheritance, polymorphism, right? Abstract classes, interfaces, collections, reflections. But you need not to worry about it if you are very new to Java programming, because I have covered Java in depth in your course. So all these topics that I just mentioned, if you go through your course content, these are actually covered in depth, right? So you need not to worry about the programming part. But before we get started with Selenium, before we understand what exactly is Selenium, I need to write a little bit of code in order to make you understand that how we will be working on Selenium, right? So if you're not familiar with the programming part, you can later on go through the core Java lectures in your course. But before that, just try to understand the concept behind Selenium, right? Like what is an API? So I'll be writing a little bit code. If you're not familiar with the programming part, just follow the concept. That's it. And in some time, you should be very much comfortable in these things, right? So let's say I have created a class as calculator over here. Now in a class, there are various things available, like something called as functions or methods or data members, data types, variables, and number of things are there inside a class. So if I am talking about these functionalities, I will be adding these functionalities in a form of a function inside this class. Let's say I create a function called as add. Now in this function, I'll be writing some code which will gonna add some numbers. So if you call this function, it will gonna add some numbers, right? When we are working in Java, we don't call these things as functions. We call them as methods, right? So a class contains n number of methods. So for every functionality, addition, division, subtraction, multiplication, I'll be creating one method for each functionality. And I'll be writing some code inside these methods that if you call divide, it will divide some numbers. If you call subtract, it will gonna subtract some numbers, right? And after that, let's say I have written the entire code, and now I want to call addition method from this calculator class. So how to call a method from a class? how we can call addition method from this calculator class? This is a very basic question. So in order to call any method from a class, we actually need to create an object of the class. So how object is created? Just copy the class name, say calculator, say anything, any variable name you can give, could be obj, could be clc. We generally give it a meaningful name, and then we'll say equal to, then the new keyword, and then calculator. This is how we create an object of a class. Now if I talk about calling a method, let's say I want to call add, so I'll simply say calc.add. If I execute this much code, then it will gonna execute whatever that is written inside addition method. Same way, after calling addition, if I want to call division, I can call it like this. I can call it like this, multiply. I can call it like one by one. I can keep on calling these methods, and when I execute this code, it will gonna execute everything that is written inside these methods, right? But again, in order to call this method, we need to create an object of a class, and this is how the object is created. This is what the syntax of creating an object. Now if I talk about this statement, what is an object inside this statement? So in this statement, what is an object? So I know, I mean, 90% of the time when I ask these questions in my live training, I get an answer that calc is an object, right? Calc is not an object. This is not an object, right? Calc is actually holding an address of an object which is created by this thing, new, and the class name. So this is what is actually creating an object in a memory. And calc is just a variable. We can also call it as a reference variable. So this is the reference to our object. And this class name is basically your type. Like we have data types. So this is one of the type to this variable. Now, how this thing is formed, we will be discussing these things in depth. So you need not to worry about it. Now, normally what happens, like in earlier time, people used to write Java code in Notepad, but time has changed. There are many editors available in the market, editors with artificial intelligence. Let's say if you're not good in coding, these editors helps us a lot while writing code. If we make any mistake, these editors provide us suggestions. If let's say there are 100 methods inside a class, we need not to worry about it. We simply need to say calc dot. We need not to learn all the methods. We'll get list of all the methods and we can pick the methods from the list, right? So at times these editors are very helpful, right? So there are many editors available in the market with artificial intelligence. So like IntelliJ is there, NetBeans is there, WebStorm is there, Eclipse is there. Eclipse is one of the most popular editor, very widely used in the industry, and it's completely open source as well. So we will be working on Eclipse in these like lectures. If someone has a specific requirement to IntelliJ, then same things will gonna work on IntelliJ as well, because it's just an IDE. IDE as in not Selenium IDE, it's an integrated development environment. So basic Java will gonna work in the same way, right? So during the course, if you need any assistance for IntelliJ as well, then you can write it in the question and answer forum, and I'll gonna assist you accordingly, right? So we will be downloading this Eclipse, but there is a prerequisite that you need to have Java installed on your machine. Now, Java as in JDK, that is Java Development Kit, and anything 1.8 or above should work fine with Selenium. 1.8 is the most stable version, right? So we'll be using 1.8 itself. Now installing Java is very simple. We simply need to go to Google and say download JDK 1.8. So at the moment Java is open source, although very soon it will get licensed. Oracle has officially announced it, but not right now. Somewhere around 2020, we are recording this lecture on in the first month of January. So right now it is not licensed, but yes, very soon Java, some part of Java will get licensed. So we need not to worry about it. We are using a very basic core Java component for testing, so we need not to worry about it. So you can see Java is available for different operating system, like Linux is there, Mac is there, Solaris is there, Windows is there. Mine is Windows 64-bit. How you can check it? You just need to right click on your PC, say properties, and here you're going to see 64-bit operating system. So based on your operating system, if it is 64-bit, you need to download this exe file. If it is 32-bit, you need to download this exe file, right? So after downloading this exe file, like Java comes as a exe, it's a simple installer, like you install normal software. You just need to double click on this exe and say next, next, it gets installed on your machine. During the installation, Java will gonna generate some folders inside your C drive, program files, and you're gonna see a folder of Java over here. So this is Java. If you open this folder, you'll find one JDK and one JRE. So JDK stands for Java Development Kit and JRE is Java Runtime Environment. Now, what are these two things? Again, you need not to worry about it right now because we have covered all these things in very depth in the Java sessions. The very first session of Java itself, we're gonna talk about what is JDK, what is JRE, what is JVM, Java Virtual Machine, right? So we're gonna discuss about these things in depth in the core Java part. But for the time being, if I open this JDK folder, you'll find Java inside bin folder. So this is where your Java is, right? Now, what we need to do before we get started with Eclipse or writing code, we need to configure Java globally on our machine. Globally as in, see, if I talk about the components that we discussed about in Selenium, like ID, RC, WebDriver, Grid. So these components will only gonna cover 25% part of your automation. Yes, Selenium is used only and only 25% in your entire automation project. Then what are rest 75% thing? The major part is taken by core Java. Then there will be n number of tools we're going to integrate with Selenium, something called as Maven, Ant, Gradle, right? What are these things? These things are called as build tools. You may have heard about Jenkins. If not, then don't worry about it. I'll be demonstrating it to you what exactly Jenkins is. This is one of the continuous integration tool. Then we will be using some Java frameworks that you may have heard about, JUnit, TestNG. These are Java frameworks. TestNG is one of the most important framework. Majorly companies are working on TestNG itself for automation. We will be focusing more on TestNG over JUnit. Logically, JUnit, TestNG, both are same. Functionality wise, both are same. But there are some additional things available which are actually the requirement of an automation tester. So those things are missing in JUnit, but is provided by TestNG. So TestNG, through TestNG, you can generate very interactive reports, test suits, and number of things are there. So there are less functionalities in JUnit. So majorly people are working on TestNG, right? And there are n number of other components we're going to integrate. I'm going to talk about those things as well. But in all these things, Selenium is not used. I mean, these are not part of Selenium, right? So these are different utilities or different tools that we will be integrating it with Selenium. But in order to work with these tools and in order to work on Selenium, in order to work on Eclipse as well, all these things will not gonna work if Java is not installed on your machine. As in, all these things will gonna, I mean, we need to tell all these utilities where exactly the Java is located on our machine. So what we do is we actually store Java, the path of Java, in some global location, so that anyone that may need access of Java can take it from that location. And that is what we call it as environment variables. We need to set up something called as environment variables for core Java. So how we need to do it? It's very simple. Just you need to copy the root folder, JDK, and right click on your PC, go to properties, go to advanced system settings, click on environment variables, and you need to make sure you are not doing anything inside user variable. You need to go inside system variable and click on new and create a variable with the name Java underscore home. The value that you need to provide is the JDK folder. For Mac operating system, there is a different configuration. You need to add these things in your bash profile. So I have covered like the installation of Java on Mac as well. So if you go down a little bit in the course, you're going to see the Mac configuration part as well. So you can follow this Mac configuration part from there. So once you do this, there's a variable that is created called as Java home, and your JDK is over here. Now, if you go down, you'll find a global variable called as path variable. So if I edit it, you'll see so many things already configured over here. Now, these are your global system configuration. See your system 32-bit. When you may have installed Windows, then these configurations are by default added over here. So these are very crucial settings. You will not be modifying, editing, or deleting these things. Otherwise, it might corrupt your existing running program or might corrupt your Windows as well. The only thing that you need to do is click on new, and over here type percentage Java underscore home percentage. So this will bring the value of Java home over here. That is up till JDK folder. Now where Java is, it is inside bin folder. We'll say \bin. That's it. When you give this much, Java will be successfully configured, right? Like I did it over here. So I'm not going to redo it. So just I'm going to click delete, and then you'll be saying okay, 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 and Java will be successfully configured. Now, if you go to command prompt, you just need to type Java -version. It will show you the current version of Java on your machine. If you get this message, it means Java is successfully configured. Right. Now, there's a shortcut to go to this environment variables. You can simply type edit in your start and click on system variables. At times, if you click on your account variable, you may see these things disabled. See, I'm not getting these options enabled. So just make sure when you say edit, click on edit system environment variables, click on this, and you should be able to now create a new system variable. And I'm on a Windows 10 machine. At times, if you are doing this configuration on Windows 7 machine, you may see these configuration in one single line. As in, if you edit the path, you may see these things like this, separated by a semicolon, then the second line, then the semicolon, then the third line. So all these things you're going to see in one single line. If you see all these things in one single line, how you need to configure Java, just go to end, put a semicolon, type Java underscore home percentage \bin. That's it. That is how you need to configure it in Windows 7. If you see all these things in one single line. But if you see all these things in separate line, then you need to add it at the end. Right? So that is how you will be configuring Java. Now Java is configured. This is the very first prerequisite. The next prerequisite is Eclipse. So for Eclipse, we will be downloading it from Google, say download Eclipse. Go to this link. So don't install directly from here. Click on download packages. Now Eclipse is just an editor. There are many packages available for Eclipse, like Eclipse can be used for writing C, C++ code, Java code, PHP code, JavaScript, Python, Perl, Ruby. All the languages are supported by Eclipse, right? And there are so many components available for Eclipse, like Photon, Oxygen, Neon, Mars, Luna, and number of components are there. So whichever component you are using, you need to make sure that it should be at least Oxygen or above, right? You should not be using old versions. Otherwise, there are some configuration that we're going to do later on in the course, where we'll get all the plugins pre-built in the latest version, which you may not find in the previous version. So anything like I'm using this 2018-09. So if I go to this link, this is the very first one that we need to download. ID for Java EE developers, right? Based on your Windows, I'm on 64-bit. See, when I'm doing a mouse over, on the status bar, it is showing it as a zip file. So Eclipse will gonna come as a zip file. It's a 339 MB zip file. Once you download it, you're gonna see something like this. I've already downloaded it. So this is how you'll get the zip file. Unzip it, open this folder, and you'll not find anything installable in Eclipse. This is the application. Just double click, will launch your Eclipse. If Java is not configured properly, you're gonna get an error over here itself, right? So this is what the initial start window of Eclipse, which will ask you for a workspace. Now, what workspace is, how we'll be writing the code, these are the things that we're gonna see in the next lecture. All right, thank you.